What is up, guys? This is Vershonc back here with another video. The time to regain your power is now. Before we jump into today's video, make sure you smash that like button, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit the post bell notification to get a notification for my upcoming videos. Now, today's topic is very important because I know there's a lot of people out there, they're asking themselves, if this person that they're talking to, if they are real or fake friend, like are they really their friend or not? So that's what we're gonna talk about. And before we jump into that, I just want to say, like, people have this idea, like this concept that, oh, I've been friends with this person for 5-10 years, I gotta stay there with them. No, my motto is that the minute, I don't care how long I've been friends with this person for, I don't care how long it's been, even 10 years, whatever, the minute they act up and I see red flags, I drop them and let them go. You got to remember, ask yourself, because you have one life. Do you want to live your life suffering for someone else that's slowing down your growth and potential? Or you want to live your life becoming the best version of yourself, to keep expanding, to keep growing? Really sit down and ask yourself that. So get that idea out of your mind. Like, if you've known this person for 5-10 years, it doesn't matter. People can always change. People can always change and make things worse for you, and that's just the truth. Okay, and these signs I'm gonna share, if you see a red flag with any of these signs that I shared, like to tell whether or not the person is a real friend, it's probably best you let them go and just cut them loose. Let them go, cut them out of your life. Because why do you think many people don't have too many friends? That's because they're not gonna meet up. They don't meet up with all of these signs I'm gonna share with you. So you gotta remember, it's very difficult for people to meet up with your standards, to meet up with everything that will actually help you to make you better. So that's why people don't really have many friends. Well, you shouldn't, because if you do, most likely you're falling down and you're not growing. So that being said, let's just jump right into it. Now, one of the first ways you can tell that you have a real friend is that when they see you do good in something, they don't get jealous, or they're not like envious. They're not like, look at this person, they think they're so great because they achieved this thing. And especially when they see you do better than them. If they see you do better than them and they're envious, that's a problem. So look for this sign. Like, if you're doing better than your so-called friend and they're still clapping for you and saying good job even when you're doing better than them, that's a good sign. That can be a really good sign. It's a real friend. Because most people, the minute they see you do good, the minute they see you do better, it's a problem. They're gonna start being jealous and they're gonna begin to switch up on you. But if they're always there rooting for you, regardless whether or not you're doing better than them, that's a really good sign. That can be a real friend. Now another way to tell that you have a real friend is that they're always there for you even when you're at your lowest point. That means they're not only there for you when you're thriving or you're doing good, you're killing it out there, then that's when they want to be there. But the minute you're low, you're not doing so good, they just leave, they're nowhere to be found. Question that. That's not a real friend. If they always come back to you when they see you do good again, that's not a real friend. It's time to let them go, cut them off. Because a real friend will be there for you even when you're at your lows, even when you're having your hard times, when you're at your lowest points. Because, and the truth is, everyone goes through cycles. Everyone have those days where they're just killing it, and some days where things are just not working out. Life happens. So pay attention for that. Now, this one is important because not many do this, and that is giving advice. So to tell if you have a real friend, they're always there to give you advice when you need it. Like, if you need help with something, like you can't make a decision or you don't know what to do, and you go to this friend and they're not even trying to help you, like, I don't know, they don't care. It seems like they don't care. That's probably not a real friend, because even though they don't know what's best for you, they will at least try and tell you what they think is best for you. And it will seem authentic. It will seem real, like they really are trying the best that they can to tell you, like, you should do this instead, you should do that. They'll always give you an advice to help you. They will never give you like a word of advice to make things worse for you or to put you down. So pay attention to that. If they're, whether or not they're giving advice or whether or not it's even good advice to begin with. So You want to look out for that. That's how you can tell if you have a real friend. They're there for you to give you good advice all the time when you need it. You know, like when you need that advice, when you go to them, they'll just tell you like, you know, honestly, this is what's best. I think is best. Things like that. So pay attention to that. Now, another way to tell if you have a real friend is that they don't talk behind your back. Like they don't say negative things about you behind your back. So if they're speaking to someone, they're not gonna talk about what you do wrong or some of your weaknesses or flaws. If they know your flaws, you know, they're not gonna mention it to other people. Because me myself personally, you know, I used to have friends, right? Then all of a sudden someone else would come up to me and they'll be like, Vershonc, I heard this, I heard blah 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 blah. It's like, how do you know? That's because that so-called friend ended up telling all of your truths, like telling all of your personal business. So that being said, be careful with that. You got to be careful not to share with people some of the things you go through in life, because sometimes they'll use that to just put you down, or you know, that's how people are at sometimes. So make sure you look out for that to tell whether or not the person's a real friend or not. So if you feel like they're talking negatively behind your back, that's a problem. A real friend will always talk about your strengths no matter what comes up. They'll talk about actually about Vershonc is this. Vershonc is actually he's good at this. They'll always talk about something good about you, something positive all the time. They'll never say something to make you look bad or to make it seem like you're a bad person, things like that. So pay attention to that, because you know that can be very problematic for a lot of people out there. So it's very important that you stay on the lookout for that. Now, this sign right here made me realize that I had to cut off a lot of people. I had to cut a lot of people off. And that is the fact that you have to always check in first. You have to always check how they're doing. They never initiate the conversation. They never come to you first to see how you're doing. If you feel like you're always the person that have to go up and say, hey, how you're doing? I hope everything's good all the time. They don't check up on you. That's not a good sign. That's not a real friend at all. That's not a real friend. That's what opened up my eyes and realized I had to cut off a lot of people, because I used to check up on people, right? So-called friends. I thought they were my friends. I would check up all the time. Not even all the time. From time to time, I would check up. But I started to realize, why do I always have to reach out first to see how you're doing? How come they can never say, Vershonc, are you all right? Or how you're doing, you know? Pay attention. This one is very key, because that made me realize, you know, who's the real ones and who's the fake ones. And very few people ever come to me and ask me how I'm doing, or Vershonc, how you been? Things like that. This is very key, guys, and I feel like this can help a lot of you when it comes to figuring out if this person's a real friend or not. Pay attention to that. If you're always the one that has to reach out first and say, hey, how are you? I hope everything's good. That's important. Now, another way to tell that you have a real friend is that they don't brag in your face to put you down. They don't try to brag to make it seem like you're worse than them. Now, there will be cases where they want you to give them recognition for their success. That's fine. But you can tell, you're smart enough to tell whether or not someone's bragging to put you down, to make it seem like you're not doing good, or they're bragging because they just want you to give them recognition, or, you know, applaud them, you know. So pay attention to that. If they're always bragging 24/7, like trying to brag to you and say like, hey, I got this, man, what do you got, or things like that, that's not a real friend. That's fake. You gotta let them go. You gotta cut them off right away. Don't stay there and stay around someone that's always bragging and making it seem like you're not doing good enough in life, or you're not going where you're supposed to. Because the truth is, that's a trick in your mind. It's not true. I don't care how bad your things are going for you. There's always room for improvement for everyone. There's always everyone has a different path. Everyone has a different journey. You can always expand and do better. Don't let people tell you that, brag and make it seem like you're not doing good enough, because at the end of the day, you always have the time to do better, okay? And remember, there's always someone that's doing worse than you. Keep that in mind. There's always someone that's gonna be doing worse than you, and you gotta keep that in your head, okay? So stay on the lookout for that. Don't stay around people that's always trying to make it seem like you're not doing good enough. You're not doing good enough when in actuality, you're actually doing pretty good. You're actually doing better than you actually think you are. This one, I feel like it will resonate with a lot of you, and that's when you have a disagreement. Now, people, when you have friends, right, they feel like, some people feel like you have to agree with everything that they agree with. Now, there comes a time where you may have a disagreement. You may say, nah, I don't agree with that. When you do that, and all of a sudden they're gonna start feeling a type of way, and they're gonna start cutting you off or pushing you away. That's not a real friend. A real friend would be understanding and be open-minded to see why you believe this instead, or why you believe that this works for you. Or they'll say, okay, that may work for you, but it doesn't work for me, but we're still cool, we're still friends. If they toss you under the bus, but just because you don't agree with something, like you don't agree with with everything that they agree with, that's not a real friend. So keep that in mind, and make sure you stay away from those type of people as well, because that's not a good quality. That's not a good trait to have. When people don't disagree with something, let's give you an example. You may think it's good, meditation is good, right? Meditation, and this, your friend may say, I don't believe in meditation. That doesn't make it right for you to just feel like, oh, you're not my friend, and just because we don't agree on this one thing, when in the first place you guys are friends because you guys have a lot of things in common. In the first place, you guys can resonate with a lot of things. So just because you don't agree with every single thing, that doesn't mean you can't be friends, and that doesn't mean you should cut them off for that, or they should cut you off for that. Last but not least is that they don't put you down for your flaws and weaknesses. I know this ties in with them talking behind your back about your flaws and weaknesses, but if you see that you're hanging with someone and they're so-called your friend, and they're always putting you down for your flaws and weaknesses, and they use that to make themselves feel better, that is not a real friend. It's right away, cut them out of your life. And before I end this video, I just wanted to tell you, again, reminder, I don't care how many years you've been friends, BFFs, best friends forever, all of that type of stuff. It can be 20 years, 10 years, 15 years. The minute they act up, it's time to cut them off and let them go, because you want to become the best version of yourself. You got to be willing to do what it takes. Ask yourself, are you willing to do whatever it takes for you to become the best version of yourself? Really sit down and ask yourself that question, because if the answer is yes, you are willing to, you would understand that I'm gonna have to let these people go, even though I've been with them for this long. And notice something about that. The minute a simple change like that can actually transform your whole entire life, you can probably unlock hidden potentials within you that you thought that you never had. So that being said, keep that in mind. I hope this helps for you to determine whether or not, if you have a real friend or a fake friend, or you should stay around this type of person, etc., etc. And again, I hope everyone has a fantastic, wonderful rest of the day. Take care. Peace out. I'm out.